Usually when you find yourself sitting in a waiting room, there's like a very clear expectation of what happens next.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
like you sit down in the plastic chair, you thumb through some 5-month-old magazine, and eventually somebody actually calls your name. There's a system.
Yeah, there's an end to the wait. I mean, it might be tedious and boring, but it is a finite process. You know exactly why you're there.
And you know how to leave.
Exactly.
But then you step into the world of modern long-distance intercultural dating, and suddenly that waiting room has literally no doors.
None at all. It's infinite.
It really is. We are looking at a relational landscape today that is the sheer definition of a digital purgatory.
That is the perfect term for it. Digital purgatory.
Right. And so for today's deep dive, we are extracting the ultimate blueprint to escape that purgatory. We're talking specifically to women who are stuck in this agonizing, permanent ambiguity.
Because it really is agonizing. It drains you.
It completely drains you. So we're going to decode exactly how to move from passive waiting and dropping subtle hints to setting boundaries that are so ironclad they literally force a partner to either step up to the plate or step completely out of your life.
And honestly, it requires a massive psychological shift to do this.
Yeah.
But it's an absolutely necessary one.
Yeah.
Because the reality of this digital waiting room is just incredibly insidious. I mean, you're engaged on a daily basis.
Right, you're texting all day.
You're communicating constantly.
Yeah.
But you are completely untethered from a real-world trajectory.
So let's unpack this right away. Like, why do so many of these relationships get stuck in this permanent floating state in the first place?
It's a great question.
Because it's obviously not just the thousands of miles
Right.
or like the 12-hour time difference. It goes much deeper into what our source material calls a fundamental clash in communication operating systems.
I love that framing. An operating system clash.
It makes so much sense.
It really does.
Yeah.
Like if we look at the dynamic between a Philippine high-context culture and a Western low-context culture, it is literally like watching two people try to play chess, but one of them is using checkers rules.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? So in the Philippines, the culture is highly relational. People rely heavily on really subtle cues, emotional tone, reading the energy in the room to understand what is actually being said.
Ooh, yes. And a brilliant example of this high context communication is the cultural concept of tampo.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to dig into this because it is just so incredibly common, and we've all done it at some point.
Oh, for sure. Campo is a really fascinating behavioral mechanism. For those unfamiliar, it's basically a response to feeling hurt or neglected, where a person just pulls away.
Or they get super quiet.
Yeah, they become noticeably
Okay, cool.
quiet, or they sulk silently. But it is so crucial to understand that it is not just random moodiness. It's not a tantrum.
No, it's a strategy.
Exactly. It is a highly specific, nonverbal communication strategy.
Right. It's basically a test. The unspoken rule of tampo is, I am pulling away and withdrawing my warmth so that you will notice the shift in my energy.
Yes.
You'll realize you did something wrong, and then you will actively come to soothe me. It's basically a bid for connection wrapped in silence.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in a high-context culture, that works.
Right. People get it.
They do. The other person recognizes the silence, they decode the tampo, and they bridge the gap. But when you try to use tampo on a Western man,
Oh, boy.
you are dealing with a low-context psychological operating system. It is literal. It is direct. It is heavily verbal.
Yes.
In his operating system, if you do not say it out loud, it simply does not exist.
It is literally like trying to run Mac software on a PC. Like you execute the program and the entire system just completely crashes.
That is exactly what happens.
But wait, I kind of have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because, shouldn't he just know if he cares? Like, if someone truly loves you, shouldn't they be able to read the room? We constantly hear that phrase, if he wanted to, he would. Shouldn't a partner notice that you're giving one-word answers for 3 days, even without a neon sign?
See, that is the exact trap. And it's a beautiful question because it gets us right to the dark underbelly of this entire dynamic.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yes. Emotional intelligence exists in every single culture on Earth. A deeply attuned, highly invested partner might actually notice your energy shift.
Right.
But here is the dangerous reality we really have to confront. A man who is keeping a woman as a reserve option or like a convenience, he will intentionally pretend those subtle hints do not exist.
Wow. Wait, really?
Yes,
So they're weaponizing their own literal communication style.
absolutely they are.
Yeah.
Think about it from a purely strategic standpoint, right?
Hmm.
By claiming to be a low-context literal communicator, he secures infinite plausible deniability.
Oh, that makes me so mad. But it's true.
It is. As long as you're just dropping hints or going silent or, posting sad quotes on your story, he does not have to be accountable.
Because he can just play dumb.
Exactly. He can just smile and say, wow, you're having a really quiet week. Hope work is okay.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He knows exactly what you're doing.
Hmm.
But he plays dumb because it allows him to maintain the status quo. And the status quo is incredibly comfortable for him.
That is a massive aha moment right there. The intentional ignorance.
Yes, intentional ignorance.
He's sitting there thinking, as long as she doesn't explicitly demand a flight confirmation or a ring, I get to keep all the emotional perks of a relationship without paying the commitment tax.
Exactly. And that is why dropping hints in this intercultural dynamic is literally like dropping feathers into a black hole.
Nothing comes back.
Nothing.
Hmm?
You cannot subtly nudge a man into a cross-continental commitment when his entire comfort relies on pretending he doesn't feel the nudge.
Man, that is powerful, which means we have to completely rewrite the code.
We do.
If the hints are failing, the vocabulary has to shift completely. We're moving from hopes and hints to cold, hard logistics.
Yes, logistics are your best friend here.
And that shift happens through restructuring the boundaries of the relationship. But, where does someone even start with that?
Well, you start by looking at where he's getting his needs met without actually having to invest in reality.
Okay.
And usually that begins with digital intimacy.
Ah, yes. The video calls.
Right. If your nightly video calls have become heavily compartmentalized around satisfying his physical urges, while your emotional needs, your daily life, and your desire for a real connection are getting ignored, you have to pull the plug on that specific dynamic immediately.
That is heavy. But honestly, how do you even do that without sounding vindictive?
It's not about being vindictive.
Because if you just suddenly cut off intimacy, won't he just get angry and pull away entirely?
Here's the thing. If his presence in your life relies entirely on you providing virtual physical release, then you don't actually have a relationship. You have an unpaid job.
Oof.
The key really is in the delivery. You don't pull the plug angrily. You don't make a huge, dramatic scene. You do it calmly, but with absolute steel in your spine.
I love that. Steel in your spine.
You simply state, moving forward, our calls will be for talking, sharing our days, and building a foundation. I am closing the door on virtual intimacy until we are standing in the same physical room.
Boom. Just like that. You tell him, I am a real three-dimensional person, not an on-demand digital subscription service.
Exactly.
I just love how fiercely protective that boundary is.
Because it addresses the core logistical imbalance. Look, in these long-distance setups, if a man is getting his physical needs satiated virtually, he feels zero urgency to spend $3,000 in 20 hours on an airplane.
Right, why would he?
Exactly. By cutting off that artificial access, you remove the artificial satiation. You literally force the relationship back into the harsh light of the real world.
Okay, so pillar one, you restructure the calls. You're actually talking about your days now. But that doesn't fully solve the problem if he's still treating you like a secret, right?
Right. The secrecy is a huge issue.
Because I've heard this excuse so many times, the classic private person shield, like, oh, I don't really use social media, or I just like to keep my work and personal life totally separate.
Ah, yes, the phantom boyfriend.
Yes.
Accepting that private person excuse is basically agreeing to exist as a closed app on his phone.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it.
He logs into your life when he feels lonely, and he logs out the second he goes back to his real reality.
It is maddening. So how do you pull him out of that compartmentalized box?
You demand life integration. That's pillar 2. You demand casual video calls while he is walking through the grocery store or like running errands.
Okay, wait.
You require introductions to the people in his physical life, his friends, his family, his coworkers.
But why is that specific piece so critical? Like, what does FaceTiming at a random grocery store actually accomplish?
It is all about the psychology of consequence.
Okay, explain that.
When a relationship is a total secret, it lacks any real-world consequence. If he never introduces you to anyone, if you never see his daily routine, it is effortless for him to just ghost you.
Oh, because nobody would even know.
Exactly, because no one in his physical reality will ever ask, hey, what happened to that incredible woman in the Philippines you were dating?
Wow.
By forcing integration, you are weaving yourself into the fabric of his actual life. You are creating social accountability.
That makes total sense. But what if he refuses? What if he says, look, that's just not how I do things. You really need to respect my privacy.
Then you drop the mic.
Yeah.
You tell him clearly, if our relationship must remain a secret, then it is a relationship I can no longer be a part of. You have to be willing to walk away from a ghost.
Which perfectly sets up the ultimate reality check. Because even if you are integrated, right, even if you're having these deep emotional conversations, you cannot live on FaceTime forever.
No, you can't.
Eventually, you have to strip away those cinematic promises of someday. Because someday is not a day of the week.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
Someday is the greatest enemy of commitment.
Absolutely.
And that low-context brain we talked about,
Yeah.
it can hide behind someday for years.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to enforce a concrete calendar.
Okay, pillar 3. The calendar.
You demand a locked-in date within the next 4 months for him to fly over, and you require a flight confirmation on paper by the end of this month.
Okay, I have to admit, that level of specificity sounds kind of terrifying to actually say out loud.
It is intimidating, for sure.
Like 4 months to travel, 1 month to book it, that feels a whole lot like giving an ultimatum. Does that actually work, or does it just make guys super defensive?
It is incredibly effective, and here's why. It is not an emotional ultimatum. It is a logistical parameter.
Ah, okay.
Remember, you are dealing with a low-context operating system. Vague timelines like, let's see how Q3 looks for my budget, or I'll really try to come for the holidays. Those create endless emotional fog.
Right, it's just fog.
The calendar boundary removes the fog completely. It turns a romantic fantasy into a logistical binary. Is there a flight confirmation number in my inbox by the 30th? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
It forces his brain to confront a concrete deadline.
You are cornering the intentional ignorance. He can no longer pretend he doesn't know what you want.
Exactly.
You've laid out the logistics, no artificial intimacy, total life integration, and a flight booked by the 30th. You assert this low-context power, and the dynamic flips overnight.
It really does.
But, and this is a big, but when a man loses control of a situation that has been incredibly comfortable for him, he does not usually respond with grace and humility, does he?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely. When you disrupt the status quo, the immediate response is almost always pushback.
Right.
You have to anticipate his defensive plays so your hand does not shake in the moment you execute these boundaries.
So let's look at those defense plays, because they are so predictable. Play number 1, the gaslight.
This is incredibly common. The moment you ask for a plane ticket or a definitive timeline, he flips the script to make you the villain of the story.
Oh, I can just picture the text message right now.
Oh, yeah.
You ask for the timeline, and he replies, wow, I thought you loved me for me. You're just like all the rest of them. All you care about is a free ticket or money. You're rushing things. It's all just transactional to you.
Nailed it.
It is just so manipulative.
It is a textbook psychological trick, and it works because it is designed to strike directly at your core values.
Right, because you want to be a good partner.
Exactly. He knows you pride yourself on being this loving, authentic, patient person. So he accuses you of being opportunistic. He wants you to feel guilty, drop your boundaries, and just go running back to the waiting room to prove to him that you are a good girl who isn't asking for too much.
It is infuriating.
Yeah.
So what is the counter move when he throws that in your face?
You meet it with an ice-cold shield.
Okay, what does that look like?
You do not get defensive. You do not write a 5-paragraph essay explaining your heart.
Oh, that's so hard not to do.
I know you want to explain yourself, but don't. You state clearly and calmly that wanting a real physical relationship over a digital fantasy is not transactional. It is standard self-respect.
That reframing is brilliant. You're just telling him, look, I'm not asking for a transaction. I am asking for reality. And if reality is too expensive for you, that is your deficit, not mine.
Exactly.
But holding that shield is hard, especially when he deploys play number 2, which honestly I think breaks most people. The silent punishment.
Yes, the ultimate game of emotional chicken.
Right. Like you set your boundary, you survive the gaslighting, and then he just goes radio silent for days, maybe weeks.
He wants you to panic.
Totally.
Yeah.
He wants you to assume you ruined everything, apologize, and beg for his attention back. Imagine just looking at your phone. Thursday passes. Friday passes. He's actively watching your Instagram stories, but he will not reply to your message.
It makes you feel crazy.
It really does. But here's where it gets really tricky, and I really want your take on this.
Okay.
What if his silence just means he's overwhelmed? Like, you just drop some heavy demands on him. How do you know it is a manipulation tactic and not just him needing time to process?
That is such a crucial distinction, and it really comes down to the mechanics of healthy communication.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Healthy processing actually looks like communication.
Yeah.
A healthy partner who is genuinely overwhelmed will say, look, I hear you. This is a lot for me to take in right now, and I need a couple of days to think about how we can make this logistical timeline work.
Okay, so they essentially put a bookmark in the conversation. They claim the space actively.
Exactly. Punitive withdrawal, though the silent punishment comes without warning.
Right.
It is an abrupt, calculated cutoff designed specifically to induce anxiety. It is the absence of communication, weaponized to make you compliant. If a man just vanishes after a boundary is set, his silence is a tantrum. It is him screaming at the top of his lungs that he is angry he can no longer exploit your patience.
So what is the counter move to a silent tantrum?
You let him throw it.
Really? Just do nothing.
You let him stay silent. Do not text him. Do not check his online status. Do not ask his friends if he's okay. Let his silence tell you exactly who he is.
The emotional discipline required to not double text in that scenario is insane. Like every fiber of your being wants to fix it.
It requires immense discipline, you're right. But if you break the silence, if you reach out to soothe him, you teach him that ignoring you is the fastest, most effective way to get you to lower your standards.
Right, you validate the manipulation.
Exactly. You cannot reward the tantrum.
Okay, so you've held the line, you outlasted the gaslighting, you survived the silent treatment. Now reality hits, the dust settles, and there are only two possible outcomes. And if you're going to do this, you must be emotionally steeled for both of them.
This is the absolute turning point. Step up or step out.
Let's talk about outcome A. He steps up. Because this is the goal, right?
Yes, of course.
If he genuinely loves you, the healthy fear of losing a high-value woman snaps him entirely out of his comfortable trance.
And, we often view fear as a negative emotion in relationships. But a healthy fear of loss is essential. It signifies immense value.
Right.
When he realizes that your boundaries are real, that you genuinely value your own time more than you value his potential, he realizes he is dealing with a premium partner.
He wakes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
He stops making excuses. He checks his calendar. He books the flight. He might even share his screen with you while he enters his credit card information.
Yes. No more, just actual adjustments to his schedule to accommodate your worth. That is the dream outcome.
It is.
But we have to be deeply realistic and fully prepared for outcome B, preparing to walk away.
Because if you set these boundaries and he just doubles down on his excuses or he just slowly fades away into the digital background, you are faced with a very harsh reality.
The hard truth is this. A delay is a decision. A lack of commitment is a commitment to someone else, or at the very least, a commitment to his own bachelorhood.
And this is where cultural unlearning becomes so vital, particularly that Filipino concept of tight.
Oh, tice. Yeah, for anyone listening who isn't familiar, titus is the cultural practice of enduring suffering or hardship in silence.
Right.
In a romantic context, it's often framed as this huge virtue, like, oh, look how strong she is, look how much emotional pain and waiting she can tolerate for the sake of love.
But enduring a bad situation is not strength. It is self-abandonment.
It is the ultimate sunk cost fallacy. We're culturally taught that suffering through the weight makes the love more real or earned. But logically, it just means you are bankrupting your own premium assets for someone who flat out refuses to invest in you.
That is a perfect economic analogy. You are pouring premium capital into a bankrupt enterprise. You have to radically reframe your mindset. You are a sovereign woman. If he walks away, you are not a victim left behind. You're an auditor who looked at a bad business deal and decided, my emotional real estate is too expensive for your budget.
My emotional real estate is too expensive for your budget. Wow. Just put that on a billboard. That line alone changes everything.
It completely flips the power dynamic. You are not the rejected party. You found his relational finances lacking, and you foreclosed on the property.
I love that. And I want to tie this back to a really visceral metaphor that often gets brought up in this context, a biblical warning from Matthew 7:6.
Oh, yes.
Do not throw your pearls to pigs, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces.
It is a harsh image, I know, but it is incredibly apt for this situation. Think about what trampling actually means.
Yeah.
When you give your unshakable loyalty, your prime years, and your deep emotional energy to someone who lacks the capacity or the desire to appreciate it, they don't just waste your time. They actively trample it.
They ruin it.
They diminish your sense of self-worth. They make you believe you are only worth the crumbs they throw from the table.
So to avoid getting trampled, to avoid becoming a ghost in your own life, you have to claim your sovereignty. You have to recognize that your youth, your warmth, your sharp mind, your emotional energy, these are premium assets.
They are non-renewable resources. You cannot get those years spent in the digital waiting room back.
No, you can't.
Once they are gone, they are gone.
Exactly. So look at the incredible journey we have mapped out today. From recognizing the trap of the digital waiting room to understanding the operating system clash between high context hints and low context clarity.
Right.
We laid out the logistics, redefining digital intimacy, demanding real-life integration, and forcing a hard calendar date.
Yeah.
And we explored how to survive the inevitable pushback, holding the shield against gaslighting, and outlasting the silent punishment, all to reach that final, clarifying turning point, stepping up or stepping out.
It is a rigorous, deeply uncomfortable process, but it is the absolute only path to genuine clarity.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to pose one final kind of provocative idea for you to chew on.
Oh, Annie.
We spent a lot of time today talking about how to steel yourself if he walks away, right? We built up all this armor, but what if he does step up? What if he books that flight, meets your demands, and suddenly, after months of fighting for it, he is standing right in front of you?
See, that is the hidden challenge no one prepares you for, isn't it?
It really is, because the real challenge then becomes entirely internal. Like for months, maybe years, you have had to be the fierce guard dog of your own boundary.
Yeah, you're on high alert.
You had to wear this heavy armor and act like a logistical auditor just to get him to act right. How do you suddenly shift your mindset from being that defensive guard dog back to being an open, vulnerable, loving partner?
It is a massive psychological pivot. You have to somehow transition from wartime CEO back to romantic partner.
Can you accept his new commitment without holding on to the bitter resentment of having to force it out of him in the first place?
That's the real question.
Can you genuinely forgive the fact that you had to draw a line in the sand and threaten to walk away just to make him see your worth? That, to me, is the next frontier of emotional work.
It is a profound question to end on. Because setting the ironclad boundary is what gets you the relationship, but releasing the resentment of having to set it, that is what allows the relationship to actually survive.
That is something to really sit with and reflect on. As we close out today's deep dive, we want to remind you that the digital waiting room is only a trap if you refuse to build your own exit.
You have the blueprint now. The logic is sound. The rest is just courage.
Remember to stay curious, stay sovereign, and protect your emotional real estate at all costs. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you on the next deep dive. Keep that X-ray vision sharp. Don't let the diagnostic waters stay muddy. Until next time.